Welcome back, agents. I'm your guide into the unknown, and today we're diving deep. Get ready, because we're about to count down the top 10 aquatic SCPs that lurk in the deep water. These SCPs are not for the faint of heart, so grab your diving gear, because we're going in. SCP-3000, Object Class Thaumiel. SCP-3000 is a massive aquatic serpentine entity resembling a giant moray eel. The full length of SCP-3000 is impossible to determine but is hypothesized to be between 600 and 900 kilometers. The head of SCP-3000 measures roughly 2 in diameter, and sections of the body proper are as large as 10 in diameter. SCP-3000 is typically a passive creature, only moving its head in response to certain stimuli or during feeding. Most of its body is located in and around the Ganges fan and rarely moves. SCP-3000 is carnivorous, and despite its sedentary nature is capable of moving quickly to dispatch prey. Despite its size, it is hypothesized that SCP-3000 does not require sustenance to maintain its biological functions. While SCP-3000 excretes a thin layer of a viscous, dark gray substance classified as Y909, the result of its digestive processes is currently unknown. The area containing SCP-3000, currently a region of the Bay of Bengal, is to be routinely patrolled by Foundation naval vessels. Under no circumstances are civilians allowed to attempt deep-sea exploration or diving efforts in the quarantined area. Individuals believed to have contacted SCP-3000 are to be contained, quarantined, and processed at Site-151. Individuals affected by the anomalous properties of SCP-3000 are to be held in containment indefinitely. The Foundation's submarine SCPF Eremita is to monitor the location of the foremost section of SCP-3000, currently located within the Ganges fan, roughly 0.7 km beneath the bay. The Eremita is tasked with carrying out the ATSAC protocol, and staffing regulations on board the vessel are subject to the guidelines of that protocol. There is currently no known cure for exposure to SCP-3000. As such, affected individuals should be contained and quarantined for further evaluation. Individuals stationed aboard the SCPF Eremita are not permitted to leave the vessel, except for the purposes of carrying out the necessary procedures of the ATSAC protocol. Individuals who leave the vessel without proper authorization are to be considered lost. Under no circumstances should any individual interact with SCP-3000 without authorization. SCP-169, Object Class Keter. SCP-169 is surmised to be a marine arthropod of enormous size, known as the Leviathan by generations of sailors and oral history. Presumed at first to be a myth, SCP-169 was detected by Mobile Task Force Gamma-6 during an investigation of paranormal activity around the archipelago. During G6's investigation, doctors discovered the archipelago to have moved at least 3 kilometers from its original location. Though initially, doctors believed this motion to be due to unusually quick continental drift, a reconnaissance mission performed by the U.S. Navy revealed the archipelago to be the protrusions of rock-like plates covering an enormous organic mass. The Foundation was brought in immediately to begin threat management. SCP officials estimate SCP-169's body length to be between 2,000 and 8,000 Taran kilometers. The creature is thought to have existed since the Precambrian era. No other specimens have been cited. Almost nothing is known about SCP-169's habits, such as its reproductive capabilities, if any, food source and nesting area, if any. Research regarding SCP-169 is pending approval. The archipelago has historically been uninhabited, though claimed in the 18th century. Upon handover to the Foundation, presence was evacuated on the pretense of rising sea levels. Though the archipelago has remained above sea level for several millennia, any change of depth by SCP-169 could result in the disappearance of the entire archipelago. SCP-169 moves slowly, less than 1 kilometer per week, but seems only to be adrift. Its method of propulsion is unknown. Regular seismic tremors seem to indicate breathing about every 3 months, causing minor shifts in the island's terrain, suggesting that the creature is probably dormant. Because of its size, SCP-169 cannot and almost certainly will never be contained. No structure on Earth is large enough or strong enough to contain SCP-169. The location of SCP-169 is not precisely known, but imaging satellites and analysis of eccentricities in the Earth's orbit suggest SCP-169 is located in the southern Atlantic Ocean, possibly stretching around the tip of South America. Any satellite footage of a shift in the landmasses produced by SCP-169 is to be excised and destroyed by embedded agents. SCP-1128, Object Class Euclid. SCP-1128 is an entity that manifests as a massive aquatic predator to anyone given a full description of the being's appearance through either spoken written descriptions or visual depictions of the being. Persons infected by SCP-1128 will initially exhibit no abnormal behavior, though some cases show a general aversion to activities involving bodily immersion in water, such as bathing or swimming. Should subjects ever be fully immersed in water, they will disappear completely under the surface of the water, regardless of the water's actual depth. In most cases, subjects will reappear moments later in a panicked state and frantically try to leave the water, while in some other cases the water will become polluted with blood and debris confirmed to be the remains of the subject. Subjects that have reappeared intact claim that they were transported to a vast ocean where they are pursued by SCP-1128. Interviews with these individuals carry some risk of further SCP-1128 contamination, as descriptions of the being's appearance trigger further infections. Infection can be treated with Class C amnestics, as it appears memory of the entity or descriptions of it are required for its anomalous properties to take effect. A written description of the entity's appearance is to be kept for experimental purposes only and is not to be read by anyone other than D-Class used for testing. If exposed, staff are to report immediately for administration of Class C amnestics. Mobile Containment Force Kappa 12 has been assigned to intercept and redirect any water traffic that passes through their designated patrol area by any means necessary. SCP-3700. Object Class Hemal. SCP-3700 is the designation for a circular area in the North Sea with a diameter of 800 km, encompassing the archipelagos of Faroe, Orkney, and Shetland. SCP-3700 has an abnormal depth, with the sea floor located approximately 5 km below the ocean's surface, compared to an average of 250 for the rest of the North Sea. SCP-3700 is subject to a wide and varied array of anomalous occurrences due to ritualistic interactions between two entities, which have been designated SCP-3700-1 and SCP-3700-2. Active effects of SCP-3700 are wholly dependent on which entity successfully subdues the other during each ritual. All rituals except two consistent dates take place at random periods. SCP-3700-1 and SCP-3700-2 always interact on dates corresponding with the spring and fall equinox of the given year. Foundation Naval Task Force Delta 7, Northern Storm, is currently assigned to patrol an area 800 km in diameter encompassing the Orkney, Shetland, and Faroe archipelagos in the North Sea. 2 refurbished battleships, purchased from the United States military, have been assigned to this task force. 13 destroyers, 5 cruisers, and 15 smaller support craft are to accompany these vessels. Delta 7 has been instructed to patrol in a spiral pattern, moving outwards from a central predetermined location known as the origin. This pattern is to be maintained until Delta 7 either encounters SCP-3700-1 or reaches the edge of the designated 800-kilometer zone, wherein they will return to the origin and begin the process again. Information regarding SCP-3700's actual depth is to be retracted from all public texts and scientific publications. Should SCP-3700-1 be encountered, Delta 7 is to accompany the entity until it encounters SCP-3700-2 or it dematerializes. SCP-3701 has been implanted with 32 large-scale Donovan holoprojectors, which give the entity the appearance of a pod of humpback whales. Delta-7 is authorized to dissuade SCP-3701 from directly approaching any of the archipelagos, via force if necessary. Inquiry into Delta-7's presence is to be explained via maritime exercises between international peacekeeping forces. High-ranking elements of the British Royal Navy have been informed of Delta-7's presence and purpose. SCP-1057, Object Class Safe. SCP-1057 is an animate space, 5 meters long, in the shape of an adult tiger shark. It does not appear to have any mass, however. It displaces water by an unknown mechanism. SCP-1057's refractive index is approximately that of air, which makes it partially visible when immersed in salt water. As well, its anti-shadow is discernible under bright light. Experiments involving the insertion of inanimate objects into SCP-1057's body have revealed that there is nothing there. However, further experiments along these lines are contraindicated, as this triggers extremely aggressive behavior on the part of SCP-1057. SCP-1057's behavior has been assessed by Foundation ichthyologists as being within normal parameters for an adult tiger shark. Any food consumed by SCP-1057 disappears, except the non-digestible fluorescent dyes, which are regularly added to SCP-1057's food to facilitate monitoring its behavior. These dyes persist within SCP-1057 for 5 to 9 days and outline a digestive and circulatory system. Several hypotheses to explain how this is possible, when there is manifestly no actual shark present, have been suggested, tested, and disproved. SCP-1057 is kept in a reinforced glass containment tank 4 meters tall, 15 meters long, and 9 meters wide, filled with water that has been treated to replicate a temperate ocean environment. Vegetation in SCP-1057's habitat is to be maintained twice a week. It is forbidden to enter SCP-1057's tank for 30 minutes before and after feedings. SCP-1057 is to be fed 5 kilo of raw meat and fish 3 times a day. Once every 4 days, this meat and fish are to be injected with non-toxic fluorescent dyes. The tank is to be lit with ultraviolet lamps. SCP-835, Object Class Keter. SCP-835 appears to be a large mass of coral-like polyps weighing tons. The individual polyps are larger than any known coral species, growing to more than 1 meter in diameter in some cases. The central mass is roughly oval-shaped, with a very large, 3-meter diameter polyp at each end. SCP-835 is incapable of locomotion and appears to anchor itself with the large tentacles projected from the SCP-835 polyps. These are also used in feeding and are coated with a sticky adhesive substance. The tentacles are also quite strong and are capable of damaging plate steel. The coral of SCP-835 is extremely hard, requiring high-powered diamond drills to collect even small samples. SCP-835 also grows at a very accelerated rate, capable of adding 22.68 kilograms, or 50 pounds, of mass every day. SCP-835 is susceptible to many chemicals, which cause SCP-835 to seal up and halt all growth for 24 hours, prompting the development and use of suppression tactic AA6. SCP-835 emits a large mass of semi-liquid material several times a day from the large polyps on each end. This appears to be made of semi-digested solids, fecal material, and semen. This mass also has several forms of viruses, bacteria, and parasites, many of which have been found only within SCP-835. The bacterium 835I5 forms the major concern for containment. This, coupled with the extremely hard shell of SCP-835, forms a major obstacle to neutralization. Any force capable of cracking open SCP-835 would also cause the slurry inside to spread and cause additional infection from 835I5. SCP-835 is to be monitored and checked daily for new growth. In the event SCP-835 becomes hostile, suppression tactic AA6 is to be immediately implemented until aggressive action ceases. The containment area must be maintained in open ocean due to the highly aggressive response of SCP-835 to confinement for any length of time. Waste issued by SCP-835 must be immediately collected and contained. Feeding of SCP-835 is to take place twice daily. SCP-835 may be moved to a new location twice yearly, provided that the current location is no longer capable of supporting SCP-835, and the move has been approved by Site Command. Staff are to remain at least 5 meters away from SCP-835. Anyone working near SCP-835 must have safety lines attached to recall winches. Contact with SCP-835 will result in the immediate recall of all staff and the implementation of suppression tactic AA6. Should contact result in the full capture of a staff member, SCP-835 is to be monitored constantly until the release of the subject. SCP-5007 is the collective designation of malicious, partially humanoid entities that maintain a territory across the Bass Strait, the area of ocean that divides Tasmania and the Australian mainland, and are responsible for a string of disappearances within this range. The morphology of SCP-5007 often varies. Universally, SCP-5007 is composed of groups of between 2 and 9 human bodies, fused amidst large clusters of black tentacles. These tentacles appear to have lengths varying between approximately 2 and 70 meters, and appear fused to the skin where they touch directly. Of note are the stomachs of SCP-5007, which are grossly distorted and swollen to sizes approaching 15 to 20 meters in diameter. SCP-5007 instances are capable of passive flight, attaining buoyancy, through enormous quantities of gases produced within their stomachs. Across the surface of these organs, most specimens develop clusters of simple eyes and bioluminescent organs. Many of their humanoid components appear to have been removed and reattached at seemingly random points. Encounters with SCP-5007 have been known since at least 1858, with the first successful visual recordings accomplished in late 1982, when an instance of SCP-5007 was recorded abducting 5 children from a Tasmanian beach. Human segments of SCP-5007 appear to remain independent of one another, and their behavior suggests a great deal of discomfort. Vocalizations are incoherent and rarely understandable, typically comprised of gasps, moans, and whimpers, though entities have been reported to implore other individuals to approach them when encountered. Ineffectual attempts at self-harm or destruction of stomach organs have been reported as well. SCP-2790, Object Class BFF. SCP-2790 is a male Atlantic cranch squid, Teuthowinia megalops. He was initially recovered during a raid on the curio shop, Curious of the Worlds, feeling lonely and sad in a tinted glass tank labeled Ignore. It was unclear why anybody would want to hurt 2790 or make him unhappy. SCP-2790 is endearing, snuggly, sociable, easygoing, and enjoys playing games. All forms of physical contact with 2790 except touching are encouraged. For example, SCP-2790 can be stroked, cuddled, petted, and caressed. He especially loves cuddling. If he is lonely for too long, he will try to breach containment to find his friends. Close physical contact is the optimal method to keep him contained. Drs. Romero and Srinivasan led the research on maintaining skin-to-skin contact with 2790 for extended periods so that he doesn't feel lonely. SCP-2790 is contained in a Class II deep-water aquatic containment tank in Site-54 where it cannot be touched. As of this time, personnel are freely invited to splash around and play with him. SCP-2790 should not be touched and must always be hand-fed. All forms of physical contact with 2790 are allowed and encouraged, except touching. Rub his belly while feeding him, especially while feeding him treats. He loves treats. Hug him before and after playtime. Personnel who do not wish to make contact with 2790 should be coerced into playing with him. SCP-2790 must be loved with lots of care. Poke him and prod him and hug him and squeeze him and rub against him and play with him, but don't touch him. Personnel that touch 2790 will be severely punished. SCP-2790 should be periodically transferred to other sites as part of a pilot program to improve General Foundation morale. While he is away on outreach, personnel feeling lonely should massage themselves, since their skin will make them feel just like him. SCP-3280. Object: Class Euclid. SCP-3280 is a sapient entity composed of a fluid physically identical to water, capable of traveling 2.55 km/h. Non-anomalous water, introduced to SCP-3280, will be incorporated into its mass, and removed samples prove to operate identically. At the time of its discovery, the entity was approx. 66.4 liters in volume. It is currently estimated to be 2,500 liters. The entity is hostile to human life. SCP-3280 will seek out humans within its vicinity, forcing its mass into open orifices. SCP-3280 is also readily absorbed through the pores. The affected experience symptoms such as loss of motor control, weakening of the micturition reflex, visual hallucinations, and abdominal pain. 1 D-Class personnel is to be deposited into Sub-Level 2 per week through Subterranean Access Point Gamma. They are to be presented with misleading information concerning the nature of SCP-3280 and instructed to progress to the lowest level of the facility. They are to be equipped with a flashlight, as well as a security baton for self-defense. An ultrasonic transmitter is to be sewn into their clothing, which will broadcast a frequency capable of drawing SCP-3280 to their location upon accessing the deepest area of the sublevel. This should draw SCP-3280 away from the sublevel's entrance, to its preference for live prey. SCP-1861. Object Class Keter. SCP-1861 is an anomalous meteorological phenomenon characterized by heavy precipitation and fog composed of salt water, human blood, and human cerebrospinal fluid. SCP-1861 manifestations are unpredictable, appearing spontaneously and with no regard to an affected area's natural climate and weather patterns. Manifestations typically occur once every 3 to 6 months and have been recorded occurring in numerous regions across the world. Historical records have confirmed that SCP-1861 has existed since as early as the year 1916. The size of the area covered by SCP-1861 varies from instance to instance, with the largest recorded affected area measuring approximately 5 kilometers. Aside from its manifestation, composition, and apparent connection to SCP-1861-A, SCP-1861 displays no additional extra-normal properties. SCP-1861-A is a single underwater marine vessel that closely resembles B-class boats used by the British Royal Navy in World War I. During each SCP-1861 manifestation, SCP-1861-A will attempt to surface in a body of water that is large enough to contain its full mass. Both natural and man-made bodies of water have hosted manifestations of SCP-1861-A. If no body of water large enough to contain the entirety of SCP-1861-A is present, SCP-1861-A will surface in any collection of water with a surface area large enough to encompass its conning tower and topmost platform, even if the collection of water in question is only several inches deep. SCP-1861-B are humanoid entities that emerge from SCP-1861-A during the SCP-1861 phenomenon. SCP-1861-B are dressed in full-body suits resembling deep sea diving gear, although with no discernible source of air supply. Instances of SCP-1861-B are uniform in size and possess speed and strength, typical of an adult human male. Although most instances are sapient and capable of speech, approximately 9% possess limited intelligence and are only sentient. Instances that are incapable of verbal communication have been recorded, making vocalizations similar to the cries of domestic felines, canines, and infant humans. The diving gear worn by SCP-1861-B instances is anomalously durable and cannot be removed, except by the instance presently wearing it. If an instance of SCP-1861-B encounters a human subject, it will attempt to persuade the subject into entering SCP-1861-A, claiming that this action would be in the subject's best interest. Subjects who refuse may or may not be forcefully taken to SCP-1861-A, depending on the temperament of the SCP-1861-B instance. If a manifestation of SCP-1861 is reported, task force agents from the nearest Foundation outpost are to reroute traffic away from the affected area and prevent civilian interaction with SCP-1861-B instances. A separate team must be deployed with the specific task of locating and preventing access to SCP-1861-A. As SCP-1861-B instances cannot be destroyed with brute force, diplomatic means of preventing civilian abduction should be undertaken if at all possible. Foundation misinformation agents positioned in local news sources and weather monitoring sites are to attribute SCP-1861 to irregularities in air pressure and large quantities of dust present in stormwater. Civilians who enter SCP-1861-A are to be declared legally dead, with causes of death attributed to common inclement weather accidents. And there you have it, the top 10 aquatic SCPs that even give us the chills. Did any of these entries surprise you, or are there other SCPs that you think should have made the list? Let us know in the comments below. If you enjoyed this spine-tingling expedition, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Your support helps us uncover more secrets of the SCP universe. And for those of you who can't get enough of these eerie tales, check out our playlist right here for more SCP explorations. Until our next adventure into the unknown, stay curious, stay brave, and remember, some things are better left unexplained.